Pygmalion is a play written by George Bernard Shaw, an Irish author. It's a story about a professor in phonetics, Mr. Higgins, and Eliza, a flower girl that talks in a Cockney dialect, and the Colonel Pickering, a gentleman. And there is another character as well, but these three, I think they are the most important, although Mrs. Higgins, it's very important too. Well, it's a story about two men, these two gentlemen, Mr. Higgins and Colonel Pickering, that make a bet about if they can in 6 months make that Eliza could behave and talk like an old lady, like a duchess. She wants to talk like she wants to talk. She wants to speak genteel. She says. So this experiment is successful, and in the fifth act there is the most intense dialogue between Eliza and Mr. Higgins. That they are my two favorite characters. I know we have to pick just one maybe, but I will pick Mr. Higgins because I think he's more fun. I mean, it makes me laugh. I can imagine him acting like a total neurotic, and it's very funny how he talks. But in the fifth act, when Eliza and Higgins have this conversation, it's very important. Pygmalion, well, it's based on a Greek myth where this artist creates a sculpture so beautiful that he falls in love with her, and the goddess Aphrodite bring to life that sculpture. Well, that's the myth. So in this case, the Pygmalion will be Mr. Higgins, and his creation, he said, will be Eliza. But there is very deep themes, topics. It's a very thoughtful work, a very thoughtful play. Because of the teaching, that what I want to talking about. When she says to him, okay, well, in the fifth act, when they are going to a wedding between Mr. Doolittle, the father of Eliza, she says to Colonel Pickering, says, I learned more from you than I learned from Higgins because you treat me with respect. This empowering thing that we talk about. She learned more from him than from Higgins, although she now can speak English pretty well, and maybe she could get that job in the flower shop. In the epilogue, then we read about what happened next if she get married with Freddie, etc. It's very deep. There is some hints of feminism too, because originally in the myth, Pygmalion was a very misogynistic guy who despised the all other women besides his sculpture. So another thing regarding to the teaching process, I'm remembering that part when Eliza says to Mr. Higgins, "And what if I teach phonetics?" She says to him, and she said, "I'm more kind. I'm more. She's more civil," says she says, than you, because we know that Mr. Higgins is an incorrigible guy. You know, it's you can bear with that character. So she said, "What if I teach this?" Because she thinks that she have the requirement, the skills to do this teaching, that we can argue if the mythos, the approach that Higgins used to teach Eliza, because he doesn't care about her feelings. That's constantly saying in the play. Mrs. Higgins, the mother of Henry, says to him, what will be of Eliza after she becomes a lady, you know? What will we? And he doesn't care. He doesn't even care. That's what Eliza said in the final act. She brings that to him. He said, "Well, I treat everyone with the same way. I mean," but she said, "Well, Colonel Pickering treat me like a lady since the first time she called me Miss Doolittle. And for you, I'm always gonna be the flower girl. You know, you always treat me like a flower girl." It's well, da mucho para pensar.